Hey, this is Edwin Dearborn, another edition of Growth Driven. If you love referrals as much as I love referrals, then you have got to listen to the expert on referrals, Bill Cates. Hey, this is Edwin Dearborn, another edition of Growth Driven. I'll tell you, I think referrals is kind of like the unsung hero that people don't appreciate. And Bill Cates here, I found him. I was going deep down that rabbit hole of how to learn referrals. I came across his content. I knew right away that he was a total expert on the subject. So, Bill, thank you so much for taking your valuable time to be here on Growth Driven.
Oh, you best. You bet. I often call it forgotten gold, right? People know that they should
love that.
Working on it, but they just haven't put a process in place, or they wimp out, or whatever.
Yeah, I call it the most beloved blind spot in business.
Oh, I like that. Can I give you another one?
Yeah.
Friend said this to me. This is like trading, He says, not asking for referrals is like a hungry person walking by a buffet with a sign that says free food.
Yeah, it really is. And I'll tell you, I think during the lockdown, when, businesses were either out of business altogether or restricted heavily, I really kind of migrated back to this idea of, okay, you're going to have people with financial restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have to go back to referrals. And I was like, what is referral marketing in the new era? And I really started asking myself that question, hence my going down that rabbit hole, finding your content. I even bought the book, Radical Relevance, which I just started to read about a week ago. It just arrived.
Thank you.
About 20 pages into that book.
Great.
Because I really wanted to delve deep. Tell me how you got started, your journey this radical element of business growth.
Well, my radicalization started in 1972 at the University of Maryland. No, I'm just kidding. Well, how far do you want to go back? Well, okay.
You just tell me the beginning. I mean, it's your moment. So you tell me to give.
Well, I figured we have some fun with this. So I was a drummer in a rock and roll band, right? This is after I quit graduate school because I was in school for the wrong reasons. I was just afraid of what to do next. And I got a call from a band. They said, we need a drummer. We're touring. And I go, okay, I've never done this. Let's give it a shot. Right. So I'm touring the country as a drummer in a rock and roll band, long hair, all that nonsense.
Yeah.
Eventually I grew up, I guess. I didn't want to be playing Holiday Inns the rest of my life or whatever. It wasn't like we were doing these big concert venues. And so I've done a few things. I actually started a book publishing company quite some time ago and started two of them and sold them both. And I was looking at the next thing to do, and I had some money, so I wasn't in a hurry. But a buddy of mine said, you should be a professional speaker, consultant, author. You're good in front of a group. You've got this experience. I go, okay, I'm going to play around with that a little bit. I kind of like the idea. And a bit of an entertainer from being a musician. So I liked the idea of being on stage. Didn't bother me. I liked learning. I liked teaching. I guess I got that from my mother, who was a teacher. And so I slowly got into this world of writing and teaching that, so many people do these days. And probably a couple of years in, I was, and this was a lesson for me that I think a lot of folks can appreciate. I didn't have a clear vision of what I was trying to do. And now we all want a clear vision of where we're headed, right? In business, personal life. But, you can't always wait for it to take action. You got to take action looking for the vision as you act, right? Otherwise you just get stuck, as so many people do. So I finally realized that I like this referral thing. I listened to some audio tapes. Some folks don't remember audio tapes, and about a guy who taught it. I said, but I do it this way. I do it that way. And then I was looking for something to focus on and write a book on. So about a month later, I said, all right, I'm going to write my book on this. And so in 1996, my first book on referrals, Unlimited Referrals, which you can probably get on eBay for about $3.94, came out. And that's what started me on this journey. And I haven't really looked back in terms of how I help businesses grow. And just to sum it up, I see that what I do now is a way to help pretty much any business grow, increase revenue without increasing their marketing budget. Because what does it cost for referral? Well, nothing.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe a thank you something, so maybe a little bit of a budget, but not much compared to other things that we do to try to bring in clients, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so in 96, you write your first book.
Mm-hmm.
What was the initial response and what did you see people do with it at that moment? I mean, this is obviously before the internet got really
Yes. The internet was just kind of coming out when I was writing the book, and I went to the library to access the internet. That's right. What did they do with it? Well, a lot of doorstops, a lot of sleeping pill uses of the book. I think I'm kidding, sort of halfway. I actually got quite a good response because there was never, at the time at least, there wasn't a book like it out there. There were a lot of people that talked about networking, and a lot of people saw the referral thing as a networking thing. And there was a section in the book about that because that's a piece of it, but it's not everything. And so there wasn't much out there on how to ask. And the joke I make is how to ask without looking like an over-aggressive life insurance agent. And if you're a life insurance agent, don't get me wrong, I respect what you do. In fact, I think life insurance is a cornerstone of proper financial planning. And we know that some of the old methodologies were fairly aggressive, and nobody wants to look like that. And so I found a different way, and that's what a lot of folks hired me initially to do is how do we be proactive, but without looking like, and a guy said it to me today, without looking like that guy, that guy that, is a little obnoxious or a little needy or a little pushy. And again, I know you have a lot of medical professionals, nobody's going to want to look like that guy. So how do we do it in a way that works?
Good points there. I think that's probably what I've observed is what you bring up is I don't want to look needy. I don't want to look desperate. I don't want to look, it's almost like if I ask for a referral, I'm hurting or I don't have enough business or, whatever. I'm sure there's, multitude of mindsets that can get triggered by asking for the referral. Right. And what you've done is going, hey, there's a way to go about it and still maintain your professionalism.
Without any question, it's not, and that's what you want to be. You want to be confident. You want to come from a place of understanding your value, and I know we'll get into that, and without being pushy. And I think we can be confident in our value and wanting to serve other folks without pushing people to do anything they don't want to do, because that's the last thing we want to do.
Yeah, totally agree. And you bring up a good word, serve. If you come from a place of serving with genuineness, then if that is what you radiate out, I think if you can master how you communicate that while still remaining, transparent and genuine, then I think that would open the door to more referrals, is from what I understand.
Yes. And my friend and colleague Rory Vaden says it's hard to be nervous when your heart's in service. And I love that, because really what we do teach is that this process around referrals and introductions, really, it's not so much about us. I mean, look, some of our clients, customers do like to help us, and that's fine, and we don't mind that. But it's really mostly about bringing our value to others, right? Whatever we do, we believe in what we do. We serve people. Sometimes the people we serve, we end up serving a lot of people because of that. And so that's where we're coming from. It's the concept of pay it forward. Let's bring this important value to other people. I know one guy, one of my clients, I learn a lot from my clients as well as they learn from me. And on his agenda, when he's meeting with his clients, he puts this topic, he calls it community outreach. And so what he says to his clients, he says, I'm on a mission to bring this value to other folks, to, help other people with what I do. And I'm only one person. And so I was, hoping we could talk and maybe you can help me bring this message to more people. And so he calls that community outreach. whatever works, whatever produces the result in a way that's beneficial for everybody, I'm all in favor of.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really smart way to do that, which is, hey, I'm only one guy and I'm on a mission.
Right.
You share it with me now. How can we serve this mission together and outreach to the community even more? I think that's a great way to come across, particularly, we'd spoken about before we got on the interview here officially that a lot of my clients are doctors, and that serving the community is definitely part of their oath.
Sure.
So I think that could probably be, they could, formulate a way to go about doing it in that manner. So I got your book, Radical Relevance. This obviously just came out.
You're the one. Thank you. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe we sold a few others, but
okay, you probably sold a few others. Tell me a little bit about that book and like how it's evolved and what that book really covers today.
Yeah. Thanks. So, the subtitle kind of says it all. So the title, Radical Relevance, subtitle is Sharpen Your Marketing Message, Cut Through the Noise, Win More Ideal Clients. So what we know is that when it comes to marketing and getting our message out there and reaching people, it's hard. It's hard to cut through the noise. It's been estimated the average person receives 3,000 marketing messages a day.
Wow.
Etc. So, it's a lot out. It's just hard. And look, I mean, do not call regulations and just all the barriers that people put up. So how do we cut through all that, right? How do we reach these people? Now, the quickest way to relevance with someone who doesn't know us, right? The quickest way to get our foot in the door, if you will, is an introduction from someone they do know. Right. That's where that referral, that introductory process comes together with this new book of mine, because that's how you become relevant. When a friend, colleague says, hey, talk to this person, you go, oh, okay, you say so. Now that only lasts so long. And so then how we talk, that borrowed trust, right? It opens the door perhaps, but how we talk about our value, how we message it, how we talk about what makes us different, how we talk about how we benefit people. We got to get that going. If that's not relevant to whoever we're talking to, if it's not compelling, then it's not going to move them to take action. So the book's about the messaging. It's about the different aspects that need to go into messages to attract people's attention. And we have a strategic level, we have a tactical level, very tactical. And, sometimes it's targeting a market, a very specific type of market helps our message get tighter and more relevant to those people. What we learn about someone before we reach out to them, that's a tactical type of relevance. So it's about that and more, but that's the essence.
That's great. So your book really helps people kind of refine the message so that when it lands at their ideal client or potentially their ideal client, it really has a lot of reality and impact, because it's like, wow, they really took the time to understand me.
Yeah. So the key word here, and this is for marketing and selling. I know some folks who are listening like the idea of marketing. They want to get the message out, but maybe they don't consider them salespeople, but it really permeates both areas. And that is empathy. So what does empathy mean? Well, it means understanding of, appreciation for someone's situation, right? We can empathize, different than sympathy. We have a sense of where they are. We don't know for sure, but we have a sense, right? And appreciate. So our marketing, all our messaging needs to at least begin with that they need to feel that we understand them at least a little, that we appreciate their situation. And so the mistake that a lot of people make in messaging on a website, on a LinkedIn profile, even an email they might send out, or any kind of marketing material, it's about we, us, I. And it really should be about you, and your. Now, it doesn't mean we don't talk about us. It doesn't mean we don't establish our credibility and our credentials and our experience to do whatever we profess to do. Of course, we need to do that, but we don't start with that. We start with an empathetic message that brings people in, and then they're more willing to and wanting to know who are we that might be able to help them with this issue.
That's great. Great tips there. over the years, you've obviously spoken to a lot of different organizations, niches. Who do you find resonates? What industries resonate most with you and go, man, this is so critical for me to succeed?
Yeah. Well, the truth is it can resonate with everyone, but we know that's a booby prize. Hello. Booby prize. And we can't edit that, can we? In marketing is trying to be all things or a lot of things. You know, if you when I consult with people and I say, all right, who's this product for? Who's this? Well, anybody. And I go, okay, well, that's the first mistake, right?
Yeah.
So even if it's true, because our messaging isn't going to be accurate or on target or empathetic enough. For me personally, in the work I do, it's mostly your audience in the sense of professionals, whether they're medical professionals, financial professionals, real estate professionals, people who think in terms of clients more than customers, meaning it's relational, it's process oriented, it's a long-term relationship. It's not a transaction. Now, I've helped folks in transactional arenas, and it's still possible to make it work, but my sweet spot is more on the the client relational, building a longer term relationship, because it allows you to become more referable. It allows you to use what I teach in more different ways to produce a better result over time. You don't have all this pressure of having to make it work at the moment of transaction, because not everyone's going to be ready at that point. And then those transactional folks don't tend to stay in touch with people after the transaction. And so the opportunity gets lost.
Yeah, makes sense. So, okay, what I've learned is, and this is my observation, and I want you to speak to this.
Okay.
When you ask somebody if they want a referral, there's a high level of affinity for referrals. Oh, I love referrals.
Okay.
I've never heard anybody say, hey, I've got a referral for you, and they say, no, I don't want one. I'm not saying that it hasn't happened, but I don't run into that very often. People are usually very appreciative of a referral.
Yes.
But yet when I ask them what proactive process they have in place, very few have it.
To get them. Yeah.
To get them, exactly.
Yeah, they all love them. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you teach and coach, what are some of the mental changes or mindset changes that you have to get them over before they start to really see the light of what you teach them?
Yeah, that's good. Ooh, there's a lot, because there's a lot of mistaken assumptions, limiting beliefs that people do bring to this process.
There you go. Limiting beliefs. I believe you're right. Yes.
Well, we're humans. We all have them.
Mm-hmm.
Whether, one could say limiting beliefs, maybe a little more core, and mistaken assumptions or something we picked up. I don't know. I'm not going to overanalyze it, but it's the stuff that keeps us, and we all have it, right? I don't care who we are. We have it. It keeps us back from doing certain things we'd like to do. And so, how do we get through that stuff? Well, obviously the first step is to be aware of them, and to try them on and see, does that fit? And I'll give you a couple in a minute. And then sometimes we read a book. Sometimes we listen to something like this. Sometimes we get a friend or a colleague that gives us a metaphorical slap upside the head and makes us realize we can see something from a different perspective. And then, that awareness, we open up to it. So for instance, a lot of people think that asking isn't safe. It's going to hurt the relationship. Well, that's not true. As long as you ask in the right way. I've been teaching this for so long. No one's ever lost a client. No one's ever had a client get angry. Nothing. I mean, the worst thing that happens when you ask in the right way is you kind of plant the seed. You promote the possibility for later. And that's it.
Good point.
A lot of people don't think in terms of lifetime value of a client, customer, patient. Right. So what is the lifetime value? Well, the lifetime value is the business you can do with them over a lifetime, certainly. And that can be pretty substantial in some cases. But it's also who they can introduce you to over a lifetime. And a lot of people don't think about that. They don't think about, I'm building this relationship to serve this person and help and make it a profitable relationship for me. And they know a lot of people. And if I play my cards right and handle it properly, I can get introduced to those folks. Now, a lot of people think that, just serving the heck out of their clients, patients, customers, will get me all the referrals I need. If I just serve people well and treat them well and respond and well, yeah, to a degree, right? It's kind of half true. It's we have to do that. That makes us referable. And every business, everyone on this planet should be getting unsolicited referrals, should be getting some of that word of mouth where people are reaching out to us and my sister said I should call you or whatever.
Right.
But that's not usually enough for most businesses to expand at the rate they want to expand and in perhaps the direction they want to expand. So like for instance, for financial professionals, sometimes they'll get referrals, introductions, but they're not the right folks that fit their business. Right. So, you're getting them, but it's not the right. So the element of being proactive is what allows you to direct and to teach and to increase the chances of getting the right kind. So there's a lot of these. These are just a few of them. But ultimately, I think that the mindset, besides the thinking in terms of lifetime value, the other main mindset is how would your prospective clients, customers, patients prefer to meet you, right? Well, through a recommendation, a referral from someone else they trust. Right. So, for instance, I was looking for a nutritionist. I'm in the Annapolis, Maryland area, and I just wanted to do a workup of a battery of tests and see, am I deficient in anything? And, does my craving for sugar or salty, is it the cortisol in the afternoon? I just want to get a feel for that stuff. Right.
Yeah.
I don't want to just look up nutritionist on Google.
Totally.
Who knows somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean I'm going to love that person. They're going to be perfect, but it increases the chances, right? So that's just making the decision to meet people the way they want to meet you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you see the apps now, right? You see Nextdoor and, Angie's List and what's it? Pro Advisor. I don't know, Home Advisor and all these different I needed to find somebody for plumbing. So I went on Nextdoor, people in my neighborhood, who knows a good plumber. That's the way of the world, right?
It is the way of the world.
Yeah. You can throw a dart at the yellow pages. No, you can't. They don't have yellow pages anymore, but you can throw a dart at Google but that's a last resort.
It is. And, I want to go back to this. I was taking notes while you were talking. There was something that really intrigued me that got me to think about something differently, which is why I love doing the show. I love interviewing people because you go in thinking you're going to talk about subject A, and then we start going down subject B, and subject B was way more interesting than what I thought it was going to be. And that is the lifetime value. You said it's not just the lifetime value of the business that you're going to do with that customer, but it's the lifetime value of the referrals that customer will then also bring. And I've never really added that up as the definition. And I think that really opens up the kind of like, wow, I really need to hold on to this person, not just for the revenue they bring me, but the referral opportunities they bring me.
And not every customer client will do that. We know that. Some will do it, some won't. Some will do it early, some will wait. But we know some will and enough will. And if we have that as our mindset, then at least we're going to look at possibilities of how do we stimulate that a little bit more, right? How do we get to know people that they know? So we might look for an introduction to those folks, right? They went on vacation. Who'd you go on vacation with? Well, we usually go with our neighbors. We're actually upset this, pandemic. We couldn't go on vacation with our neighbors. Right. Oh, that's cool with neighbors, huh? And where you usually go and and you get to know them. And what happens when you're just genuinely curious, you start to build a little bit of an inventory of people they might introduce you to down the road. And there are ways to be proactive to encourage that possibility.
Yeah, I like that inventory of introductions. Man, you were just a veritable cornucopia of information here. I love this.
I am.
Yeah.
Whatever you said. Well, I've been doing it a long time. That's true. So you learn a lot, and then I learn a lot from others. And then the other stuff I just make up. I'm kidding.
Yeah. Hey, if it works and you make it up, that's
as long as it works. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
As long as it works. So now, we are going to be seeing, I think, this is my opinion, a revival of the live events. People are going to want to go back to workshops. I think we're
Oh,
going
yeah.
to see an integration of Zoom and live, but I also think there's going to be a revival of the live concerts and coming to Vegas where I
Oh,
live.
yeah.
And, where do you see yourself in that revival?
Yeah, it is starting to happen. I'm starting to see it. Now, I do a lot of work with a lot of financial companies, and the bigger financial companies, some of them have kind of put the kibosh on anything live really for the remainder of 2021.
Okay.
Some of them are reevaluating the fall. I did my first live presentation 2 weeks ago to a financial firm, about 15 financial advisors in Reston, Virginia. It went very well. I thought I was going to be a little rusty, but since I've done so many virtual, I wasn't as rusty as I thought. And it was nice to be playful and play with these folks live, as opposed to, half people showing their pictures on the screen and half not, so you don't know what they're doing.
Right.
And I just actually last Thursday, I booked my first or my next live event where I actually have to travel to.
Wow.
In September, and it looks like today an email came through that pretty much I'm going to book one a little later that week as well. So it's starting to happen. I'm a member of the National Speakers Association. I'm in the Hall of Fame, whoopee, and all that stuff. I was on the board for a long time.
Nice.
The reason I say that is we're doing our annual event, and it's going to be a true hybrid, and we're going to see a lot more of this. So the hotel is only allowing us to have 500 people. We usually have 1,000 or more. And so we're going to probably have another 500 people, zooming in or whatever technology they use. And this is going to be true moving on with a lot of associations for sure.
Yep.
And even some corporations.
Yep.
The thing I did 2 weeks ago, there was one of the guys, Michael was the name. He was in Florida. Everybody was vaccinated live in the room except for him. So he stayed in Florida. I could see his face on a computer screen right in front of me. I could talk to him. He could talk to me. He said he had a good time. It was good. And I didn't tell his boss that he kind of nodded off a couple of times, but no, I'm kidding. So yeah, it's going to be hybrid forever. And for a lot of groups that miss seeing each other, it's going to be a hug fest. Right?
Yeah.
They're going to really want to see each other. It's human nature. A lot of people thought initially when all these video conferencing and email and all this technology comes in that it will make less human connection. And to some degree it did. But what it's done is actually help people actually crave the human connection, right? Because you meet someone virtually or email, eventually you want to say, wow, we should find a way to get together. Yeah. Right. You're gonna say, when you're going to be in Vegas next. And I'm going to tell you, well, actually I arrived July 9th. For the National Speakers Association.
Is that where it's going to be in Vegas?
It's going to be in Vegas this year.
Oh my gosh. You gotta, if it's possible, I'd love to go, and we could,
we'll talk.
Grab a steak or something.
Yeah. Sounds good. Steak. Yeah. We said steak. Okay.
Food. I know where there's good steaks in Vegas.
Bacon.
Yeah, totally. Bacon too.
Good.
Absolutely. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that, and yeah, I'm excited too. I haven't done as much public speaking as you, but that's definitely one of my next endeavors is to get out there and talk about. I talk more about personal branding, social media, and how to leverage that to kind of do what you do, but not in the same vein, but more of a social kind of personal branding play.
Sure.
Tell me, in going forward, how do you see the referral game and technology in this last year and a half melding together in that play? Where do you see the future of that?
Yeah. So it hasn't changed it a lot in the sense that all the principles are the same. You got to be referable. People got to see your value, feel your value, experience your value, appreciate you for who you are, all that stuff. Is that a little harder to do on Zoom, telemed? Yeah. Because the human energy just isn't there. So sometimes it takes a little longer to become more referable. Meetings tend to be shorter, so sometimes not as much time to ask for introductions, so it's impacted that a little bit. That's why we always want to come prepared with a couple places that we want to go with that inventory I mentioned that we built up of a few folks we know they know, because you're not going to have as much time. Certainly the introduction has changed a lot with technology, and the pandemic changed it too, of course. For most businesses, the best type of introduction is an in-person introduction, if you can swing it. If, and this is an important if the logistics of making that personal connection, whether it's on the golf course or breaking bread together or an event you might put on or whatever it is, if the logistics of making that happen doesn't get in the way of the enthusiasm of making the connection, right? Because you don't want to 2 months go by and you still haven't found that date to play golf with someone to get introduced, right?
Right.
So with the next best would be a Zoom introduction, and those are a lot easier to schedule. I haven't seen a lot of people doing that. I'm experimenting with it where you have, so let's say, and I'm introducing you to Laura, and I, we're all three of us are on the Zoom, and I said, Ed, here's Laura, here's how I'm introducing you, and Laura, here's Ed, here's why I'm introducing you, and I could stay on or I could leave. That's another way. But the email introduction is a big one, and I'm a big believer in that, and really making a good connection. I call it an email handshake. Laura, Ed, meet Laura. It's in the email, but it's not just I CC you, I introduce you.
Yes.
And that tends to work pretty darn well.
Yeah, I found that to be very, very workable. If you're just joining in or you're listening to the podcast, I'm with Bill Cates. You can visit Bill's website at referralcoach.com. If they go to your website, Bill, they're going to find out about your books, your speaking arrangements, coaching services, everything's right there. I would take it, right?
Yeah, I hope so. I appreciate that. And just so people didn't miss it, it's not Bill Gates.
Yeah, right.
It's Bill Cates with a C. I missed it by one letter and a lot of brain cells and a lot more money.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. Bill Gates has a lot of money. He's giving it a lot away. That's cool. Good for him. Yep. I'm going to help you make more money. That's my goal.
I love that. I love that. Great. So in closing here, Bill, you've offered so much value today, and I really, really appreciate. I know that I can see that you're very enthusiastic about it. You have a lot of joy about what you do. You share that joy that's very obvious in talking to you.
Thanks.
And I'm sure that your crowds feel that as well. If you were to sit down with someone for just a few moments and really impart to them the importance of referrals and what to do, what would be your most important thing that maybe you could leave that lasting impression with them?
Well, I probably, if I had to choose one thing, and it's hard, but the one thing at the highest level, it would be to make a commitment. Make a commitment to meeting people the way they want to meet you. A lot of times we hide behind mail, we hide behind email, we hide behind all the other stuff. We see the shiny object of social media, and I'm not saying we don't play in that space, but quite often that's not really. So I'll give you one example. I was talking to a gal today who helps financial advisors use LinkedIn to find clients. And I said, tell me about the ROI you provide. Tell me about and she says, well, if they can get one new client in 6 months of working on LinkedIn and all this, then they're happy. And I go, wow. I mean, that's a lot of work.
Yes.
If you just become more aware and make a commitment and start to do the things that create more introductions, you could probably have 5 or 6 or more in that time, depending on the work you do. It could be a whole lot more. So make the commitment to meeting people the way they want to meet you. And then from there, everything does start to fall in line. Once you've made the commitment, then you're going to want to learn, how do I do it? How do I become more referable? How do I ask in an appropriate way? How do I get introduced? So it's got to start with that commitment to meeting people the way they want to meet you.
I 100% agree. I think without commitment, you can't. I think
you dabble.
Exactly. You're a dabbler. And I think the other thing that happens when you don't commit is it becomes very easy to fail and then excuse it away, to justify the failure. Yeah. You're like, well, I tried and it didn't work. And you're like, it didn't work, or you didn't work. You weren't committed to the work.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't work that time. It didn't
didn't
work
work
the way
that
you
time.
did it. It didn't work
Yeah.
with that person the way you did it. There's, you learn each time, and then eventually you actually get pretty good at it.
I agree. Yeah, your practice makes perfect. Bill, once again, I really, A, thank you for being here. B, I can't wait to meet with you in July.
That'd be cool.
And I think that would be great. And I'd like to see your full, performance, your delivery.
Well, I am speaking there a little bit. So actually, you'll get a kick out of this. I don't want to bore the listeners, but
Yeah.
the theme of the National Speakers Association, yes, there is an association of people who speak for a living.
Mhm.
It's not the other NSA. That the other NSA, they're the ones who listen. We're the ones who speak, and you can't get a word in edgewise. And so their theme actually is radical relevance of the conference this year, and just happens to be, from my book. And so I made a video to promote, and I joked. I said, after all, it is the textbook for the thing. So anyway,
awesome.
so yeah, we'll get together, but we'll arrange that after we're done with this call, right?
Absolutely. So, everybody, I want to thank you for being a part of Growth Driven. If you're watching this, listening to this a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, I put on this show to bring experts like Bill on because I really felt that during 2020, I had a mission to serve small businesses and practices and entrepreneurs by somehow empowering them with knowledge and insights from authors and leaders that could maybe motivate them to get back into the game and win again after 2020 and all the craziness. So if you're listening to this, you're watching this, thank you so much. I hope you gain this. And Bill, once again, thank you so much. Until then, guys, have a great day and do well. Bye-bye.